Alright, let's do this.
I know you're capable, but what happened doesn't sit well with me. You'll be alone all weekend, and none of us are staying in Kareen. If you'd like, you can stay with Helena and me.
I held in a groan. If it was only one night, I would be fine with it. However, I felt it would be an inconvenience if I roomed there for 3 nights. Moreover, I wasn't sure if I would enjoy spending time there with the language barrier and age gap. I promise I'll monitor myself extra carefully over the weekend. I can set an alarm to wake myself up to check my glucose levels. I can leave food next to my bed. I can do a lot of things.
I know you feel it hinders your independence, but you're my only student on this field trip. It's my responsibility to guarantee your safety and well-being. I want this to be a wonderful experience. Maybe I should cancel my plans and stay here just in case.
At that moment, the office chair swiveled around and Hendrik casually veered from his laptop.
If it's not a problem, I could stay. It'd be no trouble, and I'd catch up on my work, too.
Oh, would you? You're a godsend, Hendrik.
Relieved, Sherry exhaled with a hand on her chest.
Oh.
From her tone of voice, it was like the choice was already made without my input. She must have known him for a long time to place that much trust in him.
Of course, Melissa has the final say. Don't feel pressure to say yes because I offered. You know yourself best, and I respect your decision.
My eyes darted between Sherry and Hendrik, one obviously more distraught than the other. I know myself best, huh? Then I shall accept. I admit it had been a while since I had a hypoglycemic episode, and it would be comforting to have someone occupying the same building. It wasn't babysitting, it was simply an extra precaution, I reminded myself. Besides, Hendrik did say he could finish more work. Maybe I could brush up on my geology education, too. I also wasn't looking forward to another sleepless experience. Who knew a museum could feel so eerie at night? You said it was no trouble, right? Then I'd appreciate it if you stayed the weekend.
Cool.
Oh!
I'm glad we got the situation sorted out.
Augustin walked through the entrance, announcing that he had locked everything up save the back and front door.
All done. Now has the discussion been settled?
Augustin had been in the same room briefly when Sherry first addressed me. Therefore, he had the gist of the situation.
It has. Hendrik has offered to stay.
That evil grin.
Not a bad decision. He is behind on his work.
Again, sorry about that. I'll catch up now.
Then I'll see you Monday morning, Melissa, Hendrik.
Right. Take care, Sherry. Bye, Augustin. Sherry grabbed her purse and walked out while Augustin followed. He lingered by the door, his eyes sparkling mischievously. He's so trying to set Hendrik up with a girl. Augustin! Oh, this is gonna be the best.
It might be a good thing for you to spend some quality time with a cute girl.
Oh, the blushing is real.
Noncle, you know me.
The chief archaeologist laughed and closed the lab door while Hendrik rubbed the back of his head in embarrassment.
Senile old man. You're a student here, not... Sorry about that.
It's fine. What's the work you're behind on, anyway? Sitting back down, he rolled the office chair to his laptop and rested his hand on the mouse.
Just some documents from last year that I still need to get around to.
He made a few clicks, opening up an application I wasn't familiar with.
I work here exclusively during the summer, so things can pile up quickly.
Hendrik instantly brightened like a child as he whirled toward me.
I'm updating the microcertificate log now that I've got some new dates established. Want to see?
Sure, what is it exactly?
Behold, the entire strata of Grotte de Calen.
He opened up a huge visual diagram. One side was colorful, all earth tones with various dots and gray spots of various sizes. It took me a moment to realize I was looking at all of the layers documented. The top had a cavern picture including a cute bat and speleothems? Each sediment had its own assigned identification and information blurb. And that was just the stuff going back to 40,000 years ago. Whoa. Can you scroll down? I want to see where I'm excavating.
Layer name?
I'm almost done with 3CL.
So you're roughly around the 120,000 mark, closer to the end of the Eemian period, depending on who you ask. Either way, it's still interglacial sediments. Summers were dry and warm, winters mild, with temperate and boreal trees. It was forested then. Gets cooler around... There, the 130,000 mark, the beginning of the early Eemian period. There's a surge of pine and spruce in the pollen counts.
The cursor circled the indicated spot?
Tons of clay layers. You'll have fun when you get to those. I didn't bore you, did I?
Of course not. Actually, to be honest, I was surprised you knew so much about pollen counts. That doesn't seem geology-ish.
Palynology isn't my strong point, but it's usual when applied in geology, like geochronology and archaeology, climate change, etc., and on dairy. You pick up the interdisciplinary sciences as you go. If anything, I'm better at compiling the data. I leave the bio stuff to the real experts. Now the stuff I focus on are in situ and the reworked paleosols along with...
There was a low grumble, and I turned away from the computer screen. He clicked out of the program. Since the students left, dinner was not served, and it was getting close to the time I should be eating.
It's probably for the best if we stop there. I tend to get wrapped up in my work. Hope I didn't talk your ear off.
Oh, the puns. No, I'll be pestering you all weekend about this type of stuff. You won't mind, right? This internship provided me with opportunities to converse with peoples of various expertise. How could I pass it up?
By all means, you're a student here too. Ah, wait, if I'm staying here... I should pick up some stuff from my place. And food. I can't eat the leftovers here.
Oh? He walked over to the lab entrance and grabbed his keys off a small peg set.
Are you in the mood for spaghetti? I'm not an amazing cook, but I already have ingredients back home and I can make it here. If you don't mind waiting a little longer.
Yes, I'd love spaghetti.
Then before I go, is there anything you avoid eating? Allergies? Diet restrictions?
I'm pretty flexible when it comes to food, but I don't eat red meat.
Duly noted. Back in a bit, Melissa.
With a jingle of his keys, he departed, leaving me to my own devices. I'll keep myself busy for now. Oh, it's so pretty here in the evening. So romantic. A while later, Hendrik was making the sauce in a large skillet, stirring in basil and crushed tomatoes. The garlic clove smelled heavenly. I was across the counter, elbows propped up while I watched him. I thought you said you weren't great at cooking.
This is a 4-ingredient sauce. I hardly think it counts as anything above beginner level.
5 if you count the salt and pepper. Or would that be 6?
My word, a 6-ingredient pasta sauce? I'm moving up in the culinary strata. I hope you don't mind a meatless sauce, though.
Vegetarian?
For a while now. You, or do you only avoid red meat?
You could call me a semi-vegetarian. I avoid meat when I can.
Ah, the lazy vegetarian diet.
More like, I avoid meat, but I won't say no to Grandma's yearly Christmas steak. Don't want to break her heart after all the effort she put into our meals.
Some of my family members were baffled when I started making the switch. My old Boma would be all, "Back in my day, we slathered everything in butter and deep-fried it, and that was the way we liked it."
Boma. What's your surname again? Why are you making me do this again? I don't know how to pronounce it.
Lukenhuis. I'm from the Flanders region. Flemish, Belgian Dutch is spoken there. Augustin is my mother's brother if you're trying to figure out family relations.
Okay. Makes sense. And you know all 3 languages?
That and some German. Very meager, though. I got my Master of Science in Geology in Germany, and only English knowledge was required.
Geez, you're quite accomplished. That's wow. That's so wow.
Aw, no need to flatter me. I don't think I'm that... Oh, jeez, it's burning.
He quickly removed the skillet and placed it on a wooden platform, followed by the boiled pot of pasta. Grabbing a creased rag, he waved away the thick white smoke, then mustered up a sheepish smile. Every time I'm in the kitchen with one of the boys, they're like burning something. I just distract them so much. Smooth.
Let's pretend you're still impressed, and bon appetit, shall we?
We shall. The sauce was a tinge garlicky. There was garlic in the sauce, but I ate it without complaint. It was a refreshing change from weekend leftovers, and I was grateful for his generosity. We ate outside, focusing on our meals too much to talk. When I was done, I set the fork down on the plate with a clank, drawing Hendrik's attention.
You sure we're famished? What are your plans now?
Sleep, hit the books. Well, he cooks, so I should do the dishes. Yeah, I'll do the dishes. It's only fair since you made us dinner.
You sure?
Of course. Let me return the favor. You did more than your share. Besides, wouldn't you like to return to your work ASAP? He averted his gaze, confirming I was right, as he found the offer too enticing to protest.
Then, if you wouldn't mind.
Cramming the remaining pasta into his mouth, he stood up, chewing frantically. After arranging the fork on the plate, he casually passed it over, then cleared his throat.
Thanks, Melissa. I admit that's one of the drawbacks of living alone. You can't divide up the chores.
He headed for the museum entrance. I let out a hopeless sigh, but my lips curled into a faint smile. Really? Plates in hand, I transferred all of the utensils, including the skillet and pot. When I was done washing, I grabbed my pajamas and other belongings from the tent and trooped up to the second floor of the building. As I got ready for bed, I wondered where Hendrik would spend the night. I was just wondering that myself. Most likely downstairs. The laboratory was spacious if you moved the tables. At least I wouldn't have to worry about ghosts tonight. I've got a protector. Brrr. The wooden stairs were cold against my bare feet as I stepped down the creaky panels. Sleepily rubbing one eye, I stopped in front of the lab door. After combing my hair with my fingers to give me a half-decent appearance, I opened the door a crack and peered inside. Hendrik, you up? The lights were on. I opened the door completely and stepped into the room. I wondered if he fell asleep while working. I spotted Hendrik slumped over his laptop, a few fingers resting on the keyboard. His face was obscured behind his arm, but it was evident he was sleeping. You didn't go to bed at all, did you? I quietly approached him and raised a hand, wondering if I should tap him on the shoulder to wake him. Maybe it was better if I left him? First things first, we gotta get our priorities sorted out. Make coffee. I think coffee will be the perfect wake-up call. Besides, he did mention the disadvantages of living at home alone. Maybe it'll be welcoming to wake up to some fresh coffee already made for a change. Yeah. I didn't know what he preferred, but I reckoned regular old black coffee was a safe bet. And besides, you can always add stuff afterwards. Don't put stuff in, because you can't take it out. I went into the outdoor kitchen and examined the coffee machine to determine its complexity. Delighted that it used coffee pods, yes. I picked a dark roast from the capsule holder and prepared a single cup. Aww, sweet baby. When I returned, I pushed the keyboard out of the way and then gently shook Hendrik's shoulder. He let out a lazy yawn as he sat up. Once I set the mug down, his eyes lit up with interest and he glanced my way. Morning. Thought you'd like a pick-me-up. Sorry, I wasn't sure what you wanted, so it's plain black. He smiled and gingerly hooked a finger through the handle.
It's perfect. I like my coffee how I like my job. Dark and dirty.
He grinned proudly to himself as I rolled my eyes at his joke, and he swiveled the chair in my direction.
Thanks, Melissa. I really needed that. I practically passed out.
Were you able to finish some stuff?
We'll find out once I start reviewing it.
After a tiny sip, he set the coffee down and navigated the mouse. Oh no! I wondered if he, face-planted the keyboard and was just writing nonsense for pages.
Pages and pages of the letter M and commas. I don't think the Royal Society of Archaeology would accept this.
While he corrected his work, I made a caramel macchiato and settled in one of the chairs positioned at the center table. We made small talk while we enjoyed our drinks, mostly about the work he'd accomplished, or not, and how Hendrik never found the museum that creepy at night. What? You mean you never experienced the sounds of someone slowly walking up the stairs and then stopping?
You don't seem like someone who'd be terrified of ghosts.
I was honestly never scared of ghosts until now. I'm blaming your uncle on his Wrath of the Neanderthal joke.
If anything was haunting this museum, it'd be all of the cave bears we dug up.
He set the empty mug down next to his computer.
I'm going for a shower. Even a geologist likes to be dirt-free once in a while.
As long as you don't steal all the hot water. It's my one luxury when everyone is gone.
No 20-minute showers, gotcha.
Standing up, he set his laptop to sleep mode. As he walked down the hallway, I whimsically swiveled my chair toward the table. My eyes fell on a bright green bottle next to a small bag. Judging by the washcloth folded beside it, I grabbed the bottle, briefly scanned the contents before bolting out of my chair. Oh no. Hendrik, you forgot your shampoo.
The beautiful long hair is loose.
Yes. Peering around the corner, he already had a towel thrown over his shoulder. I tossed the bottle underhandedly, and he caught it with ease.
Oh, thanks. You just spared me a potentially awkward moment there.
No prob. Got you back. But we didn't get any butt peeks like we did with Dominic. Oh, well. Plenty of time for that still. How's our relationships going? 5 and a bit. I'm going to cave in and start making rock puns, and it's all his fault. Beautiful man. Okay. He's in the lab. In the lab again. In the lab again. Cave. And then he's in the lab again. But I think I was looking back at, I think it was during Kyler's route. Remember we got that scene with DeAndre and Hendrik? And they were like going to throw the whatever that thing is, like a spear thingy, into some hay. And I think that required you to be at the cave that day. So I'm gonna try the cave on a Friday. And then inquire, internet, museum, dance. Okay. We'll see if my memory is correct in that area. Oh no. Augustin, why does this vertebra look so pitted? I wonder how badly Augustin teased Hendrik when they got back.
Looks like silly cave bear got eaten by smart hyena or lion. Those are bite marks attacking the anterior thoracic vertebral column.
And
Lower spine, petit fleur.
Yee! Squealed in my seat as a brush poked my back.
If that is from layer A2GR, I believe we already have 3 bones from that same animal.
Must be tough piecing it all together.
We have collections going back to 80s. We are still fitting pieces found decades apart.
Did people always know about this cave? How was it found?
You aware of popular movie with an archaeologist who carries whip?
Oh, yes.
Because of that movie, many kids were inspired and explored region pretending to find treasure. Silly kids stumble on cave here.
Who knew an inaccurate portrayal of archaeology would lead to a real archaeological discovery?
We still get an occasional student who is disappointed this cave is not a booby-trapped temple. I would lose all my help if that was the case.
Maybe it is, and we just haven't dug the traps up yet.
If so, you will be the first to find out.
Ha 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 ha! He laughed and excused himself, and I glanced at the chewed bone. Maybe I should dig on a higher level instead. Possibly. Quite possibly. Completely famished by this morning's tasks, I scooted onto the bench with a bowl of mushroom soup. Grabbing a slice of Swiss cheese, I teared it and dropped the pieces into the soup. What are you doing? Adding cheese to my soup? Is that what people do in America? It's what I do. I guess it's common enough. I haven't really thought about it. A few seats down, I noticed Kyler also eyeing my actions before silently returning to his meal. Was adding cheese to soup really that bizarre? I heard a holler behind us, and many of us automatically turned our heads toward the driveway. A tall woman dragged a suitcase behind her, while her free hand waved toward one end of the eating area. Hendrik immediately stood up and approached her.
Rose, glad you could finally make it. I didn't think you'd arrive this early.
No thanks to you. You practically ditched me in the middle of those core samples.
What can I say? Analyzing core samples is boring.
Oh no, don't pull around with me, Mr. Ace Geologist.
Her stern expression faded, and they both exchanged a cordial grin as they leaned in for a cheek kiss. Augustin and Sherry gathered around her as well. Would it be okay to introduce myself, too? Sure, I mean, let's say hello. It couldn't hurt. Besides, she was part of the main excavation team, right? I knew Sherry would introduce me to her eventually. I sauntered over while Rose gave a greeting kiss to both Augustin and Sherry. My professor smiled and extended an arm to beckon me closer.
Ah, is this your summer student, Sherry? I swear they're getting younger and younger every year.
Oh no, she's almost a third year. I get it a lot. Don't worry about it.
You'll appreciate it as you get older.
Well, I have yet to reach that point myself, so please inform me when this, appreciation will take place. 'Cause I don't have it yet.
Anyway, I'm Rosemary.
She extended her hand and I took it respectfully.
And you are?
Melissa Flores. Do you work here too?
Yes, I'm one of the archaeologists here. I specialize in lithics, stone tools, and all that.
She boldly jerked a thumb in Hendrik's direction.
Basically, I focus on the rocks that Hendrik has no interest in because they've been touched by Neanderthal or early modern human hands.
That's entirely inaccurate. Sort of. I may touch upon it a bit, mostly for petrological reasons, establishing geologic resources and trade routes. Rosemary here does the technological aspect, the whole get into the mind of a Neanderthal angle.
Which is a wonderful science in itself. You'll learn many things from Rosemary, Melissa. She's an expert flint knapper as well. She produced most of the example stone tools you see here.
Aw, you flatter me, Sherry.
I was starting to see there was a wide spectrum of work done in this cave. Sherry focused on bones, Augustin was on context and stratigraphy, Hendrik was all about rocks and sediments, and Rosemary on the tools left behind.
I'm glad to see the gang's all here, and thankfully I made it in time for lunch. I'm starving.
Here, I can take your suitcase for you.
Thanks. Did you clean your place?
You did arrive earlier than I thought you would.
She lowered her eyelids while Hendrik squirmed uneasily.
It's partially my fault anyway. I should have texted ahead.
After a step, she pivoted and gave me a little wave and nod.
Anyway, it was nice meeting you, Melissa. Look forward to my lecture on lithics later this week. My French is horrid, so Hendrik will have to be the translator for most of the students.
For some reason, I could feel a kindling of affinity through that common fact. I will look forward to that. I'm glad we introduced ourselves, finally. Rosemary and Hendrik continued their conversation as they headed for the museum. Happy with the introduction, I settled back down in my seat, hoping that my soup hadn't gone cold. Delicious. Well, the cheese should have melted by then, at least. Oh no, we failed. No. Why am I so breathless? Gotta drink some water. Ah, tense. Why was the air around here so tense? I pondered that while I stirred my cheese-drenched tomato soup. Both Joan and Chantal, who previously sat and talked with me, had disappeared. Many students paced by the museum entrance. Some checked their phones or glanced over the shoulders of others to view their screens. Meanwhile, DeAndre spread mustard on his second or third sandwich. At least he seemed unfazed. What's going on? Everyone appears to be anticipating something.
Exam results are being released today.
This late? After a casual shrug, he took a large bite of his sandwich. He wiped his mouth before speaking.
Usually they're released earlier, but they had some problem with the data or entry system or whatever.
They must be super important if everyone looks this anxious.
It's a make or break it deal. If students don't average out a certain percentage, they have to repeat a year.
Compared to the other students, you aren't sweating bullets.
That's because most of them are first or second years.
I see. You're probably used to this by now, then.
Too used to it. Fortunately, this will be my last semester, and then I'm free. The only thing left is to finish this elective requirement, since I'd hate to waste a semester on a single course. A more expensive course, too.
Jealous? At least you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I feel like I barely started and it'll never end. I felt a playful flick on my forehead.
It'll be over before you know it. Hang in there.
Before I could respond, one of the students announced something in French, and everyone tapped away at their phones again.
Results are up.
From the reactions, DeAndre didn't need to clarify. However, he set the sandwich down and fished out his phone. Good luck, man. I stood up and uttered a small later, not wanting to distract him from seeing his results. I was about to grab the zipper to my tent when I heard a soft cry behind me. Chantal tapped at the tent she and Joan shared, speaking in French. The only response inside were muffled sniffles. Is everything all right? Joan failed a music theory course. Even if the delivery was blunt, I liked Chantal's honesty. I don't know the details. Apparently it was a simple music reading exam with an instrument of your choice, to a rudimentary score. Joan's amazing at flute, but performing, she gets overwhelmed and does badly. That must be hard on her. You're trying to talk to her now? Yes, but because I've been supportive of her dreams for years, she's having a hard time facing me. I wonder if she's feeling guilty. What about your grades? Could do better, but solid and nothing to complain about. I'm more worried about Joan. The first semester was hard enough on her. Well, I hope she feels better soon. She has a good friend at her side who cares. Thanks. You should probably go for a walk or return to your tent to read. It's going to be a very emotional day for many students here. Good idea. Good luck, Chantal. Take care of that girl. She's a sweetie. In the lab again. Brushing. Succeeded at the brushing.
Can't we at least open a window? The fumes are giving me a headache.
Hendrik stood up. After a loud screech, the window flew open and we were greeted with a gust of wind. My arms huddled close to my body. Cold!
Here we go.
He left the window ajar, although it amplified the noise of the rain splattering against the foliage and pavement. At least the sour smell of the nail polish was not as strong. I could see why lab work was preferably done outside. It felt cramped cooped up on the second floor. The earthy smell of the remains and their repulsive coating wafted across the room as well. Hen, come here! Rosemary cursed and glanced up from her laptop from the other side of the room. There was a projector hooked up and she jammed a flash drive into the USB port. The white screen was already down and everything was running. She was preparing a slideshow presentation but needed assistance. I glanced down at the millionth cave bear phalanx and delicately swept off the dirt with a toothbrush. Cave bear finger bones sure reminded me of human ones. Besides the obvious size difference. To my left, DeAndre groaned as he dipped the nib pen back into the bottle.
Ugh. This is impossible. How do you write so tiny? And how is this a flake or whatever? It looks like any other stone.
He showed the flint to me on his outstretched palm and I studied it. I think it's the angles? He shrugged carelessly.
Doesn't even closely resemble an arrow point. This is such a...
The rock rolled off his angled palm. He tried to save it but fumbled. I darted my hands out, slapping the rock between my fingers awkwardly, right as his hands covered mine. We both froze and exchanged glances before we started laughing. If our movements didn't draw attention, we certainly did now.
What are you two doing?
We hastily removed our rocks, none of us wanting to admit to Hendrik that we nearly dropped a rock.
I was admiring her nails.
I see. Don't mean to sound crusty, but it's probably best to save the beauty talk for after.
Okay. We both returned to our tasks, and DeAndre leaned over, lowering his voice.
Thanks for that. I didn't want a repeat of last time.
Last time?
Oh, when I dropped a... Never mind, it's not important.
He placed the flint back on the table.
I'd rather not mess up again, that's all.
He trailed off, slumped back in his seat, and I decided to give him his space. A few minutes later, Hendrik approached the table sheepishly, then tilted his chin toward the laptop that Rosemary frantically typed on. Hendrik announced something in French, then delivered a translation as he glanced in my direction.
Anyone fluent in computer? We can't seem to get the projector working.
DeAndre and I exchanged glances, and he stood up to get a better view of the screen. He sat down promptly, looking apologetic.
Sorry, mate. I use a different operating system.
I didn't consider myself super projector savvy, but I did do presentations in classes that used them. I'll try for myself this time. I could take a look, I guess. I make no promises. I only have some experience.
It's worth a shot.
Rosemary stepped out of the way as I leaned over her laptop. I navigated the mouse and glanced at the light shining on the projector screen. Everything seemed to be in working order, so... Was it already reset?
Yes, I reset the laptop. Ugh, technology. Maybe we should use the overhead projector, Hendrik. I still have those old transparencies.
I have no idea how to work it anymore. Besides, I want people to enjoy learning archaeology, not think we're fossils if we resort to using that.
You already forgot? Remember when they used to be ubiquitous? Professors would fight over when they could use them.
I hated being the one designated to wheel those in.
While they chatted, I tinkered around with resetting both the audio-visual device and the laptop. I toggled the presentation displays, growing increasingly frustrated. What was I doing wrong? Was it the projector itself? On a whim, I leaned over to check the cables, and... I couldn't tell if my hand smacked my face or if my face smacked my hand. A cable was loose between the devices. I fixed it, then played with the laptop again. I checked the top of the projector and flicked a switch. Sure enough, the room was basked in a gentle blue glow from the desktop displaying on the screen.
You did it! What was the problem? Just a loose cable?
I gestured to the AV device. Well... Oh. Suddenly, everything went pitch black. A few of the students gasped and chatter immediately sprung forth.
Can you fix that too, Melissa?
A power outage? Not possible.
I guess we're not getting that lecture either way tonight. I highly doubt the electricity will return soon in this storm.
Aw. I felt a gentle pat on my shoulder.
A shame it happened, but it didn't go to waste. Good work there, champ.
Champ. Thanks, I guess. Since there was no point in continuing the lab work, we all decided to clean up. Hendrik and the others turned on some flashlights and phones for light as well. We did it! We're smart enough to fix the projector screen. Yay for us.